Hello everyone, this is gonna be a quick spoiler review. So yeah, let's jump into it. This movie has to be the greatest Marvel film ever made by Sony and Disney, and I kind of respect it. Yeah, I swear, Marvel has been putting not very great movies for the past year, well this year, but like I mean, Widow was Shang-Chi was boring. Eternals don't even give me on that shit. I mean, I never even watched those three, so lucky for me. But I was waiting on this movie specifically just because reasons. I mean, like I said, spoiler. They brought back every single fucking OG movie characters you can. I mean, Spider-Man movie characters you can think of. Like fucking, they brought back Toby, brought back Andrew. Yes, those two are actually in the film. Like man, it's like I never thought that those two motherfuckers were actually gonna be in the film. Like I knew ever since that first trailer that came like way back in August. I mean, there was a lot of leaks for it, and those leaks were actually real. From like I never actually thought that those photos. I mean, it kind of looked real. Seeing the big stream, look, they're actually fucking real. Like man, it's like holy shit. Like Toby still acts like what he does in this film. He did a brilliant job. Like man, like even he looks old, and Andrew like holy shit. He actually has character development on him. Like I never watched the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I saw Toby's and well, not in theaters unfortunately. I did see those shits in DVD. Spider-Man 2 was my first, and so forth. Andrews I never saw until I had to see him like way back in the day. I think it was 2018. I saw his films because I was bored. And you know Spider-Man, you know what? And holy shit, that like Andrew was like he took the spot in this movie. Like not the title spot, but like you know what I get. But like he's way better in this movie than his other two, to be honest. And Tom Holland, like holy shit, he um he did a great job in this movie as well. Um, Homecoming and his Far From Home versions and the Adventures, I guess, even though they're not. But he was okay. But in this one, this is where he becomes the Spider Man. And this is like holy shit. And let's get to deaths. Nobody dies in this film except for one, I think. I think there's a few that dies, but I can't think of one. But the only person that you probably already know who's dying is Aunt May. I forgot her actress is, but damn, they actually killed her off. Like to be honest, he's like the Uncle Ben in this one because like the MCU version of Uncle Ben, like you still don't know how the fuck he dies. But like I mean, that's freshman years, but that's another story. But man, the way that they killed her off, like that's kind of upsetting to be honest. Like I kind of have cried, not fully cried. I cried when Toby Andrew came, but like that wasn't. It was just surprising, like not mainly crying, but get the point. But yes, he dies, and we get to the end stuff later. But the villains in this movie, like uh, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx as Electro, and the other two actors I forgot about who plays Sandman in it. Listen, I'm surprised that those two like has their original actors. Like, unfortunately, they were only there for voice roles and not acting. I mean, yeah, they're like Foley actors were like kind of in the film, but they were kind of let's just say CGIing or just reusing the same scenes. Because I saw the video of that shit, I was like, oh shit. I thought they actually used their characters, but apparently not. They just reused scenes. I was so surprised. But in the credits, they just showed their fucking like they were still a part of the shit, so they were just voice acting their characters. I was surprised. But to be honest, like the three main villains are kind of in this film. Like holy shit, like let's get started with Doc Ock. You know the one that kind of spoiled this whole shit. Alfred Molina. He did a great job in this film. I'm not even kidding. He did a very good fucking job. Like first he became a villain because of course like he takes place like in the second film where he grabs Toby Spider-Man and then after like he tries to talk him out, he's just like zap. So you know in the trailers and you probably already know the fucking bridge scene. So he fights him off and then Green Goblin shows up and we get started with him later. But and then let's talk about Green Goblin first. So he comes up, he you know shit like him and Norman Osborn are having a he still has personality. It's just like if you ever saw the first film, you know what you get. But yeah, so he still has that until he comes back to Norman. He still uses that shit and like and and you know what? And then later on he we get to the building scene in a minute. And then let show Jimmy Fox's let show when Peter was trying to find the other villains, he found them in some kind of I forgot what they're called, but yeah, he finds them there and then he was not blue like he said, but he was like a little bit of blue is just like when he gets summoned and stuff like so. You know what he gets. You know what he gets if you ever saw him. He's just too, but yeah, and then Sam appears in there trying to help him. Lizard already got captured by Strange, and we get to Strange in a minute. But yeah, all four again got captured, and let's get to Strange. And Strange tries to sends them back to where they're almost about to die, except for Sandman and Lizard. I don't even know those two. I'm surprised those two actually got character development. I just thought that nobody cares about that. I mean, Sandman was kind of the least, and Lizard was kind of a little bit. But yeah, so let's get to Strange. So Strange wants to send them back. Apparently, Tom Spider-Man didn't want to do that, and then you know what? He takes the box. You know, they have a huge fight, and I'm surprised that Spider-Man actually wins this one because he like traps him in like with his webs near the rocks where he does math stuff. So yeah, so he captures him. So he let some of the villains go to do his project, as he calls it, because apparently in this movie he tries to fix them as to like not become evil. So and then he went to Happy House. He makes some sort of thing for Doc Ock for his like mind control thing in his back. You know what I'm trying to say, but yeah. So he fixes it. He puts it on him, and then he becomes normal Octavia, where he's not evil. As I say, the arms does not control him, so he's free. So he can like so he gets half his mental techniques, you know, the bridge scene, he takes it off and stuff. So he puts it onto him, and he gets that new suit that you see in the posters and stuff. And yeah, and then the credits, I don't really need to speak too much about it. As you probably know, he gets splattered by paint. I'm surprised they didn't see like in that scene specifically. There was supposed to be Tom's um brother in that scene, but he doesn't even barely see him. You just see the paint version. I remember there was a deleted. I think if you know what I'm trying to talk about, the early scriptings where he was just bouncing. I don't know. I guess that was a deleted scene. I also know that Toby's and Andrew's girlfriends, what were their names? Kristen Dance and Emma Stone's were originally in this movie and they got cut. Maybe they might show the deleted scenes and how even them in whenever there's a Blu-ray or some shit like that. But who knows? But yeah, Dr. Octavius becomes normal, and then later on, Tom's Peter Parker or Spider-Man senses something strange, and then he sees Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe's he becomes Green Goblin, and then he's surprised because he was like, oh no, and then like how's it go? Like he switches to Green Goblin, then he says some stuff, and Octavius and other villains start to be confused and was like, oh no, like I don't need to be cured, but like he's trying to like further and shit, like, and that's where the second battle goes. They don't trust him. Octavius is normal, but he doesn't want to fight anyone, so and also J.K. Simmons is there, which I mean he was a good character in this film, like he kind of still acts like him in the Raimi, although this is a variant of him, but other things to that, so a whole fight goes there. Willem, Aunt May was still there. She was trying to run away. Tom's Spider-Man and Willem's Green Goblin are attacking each other. So, you know, and then they get to the final floor of the roof of Happy's hotel. So Aunt May was there. He was like brutally beating up Tom's Spider-Man, and then that's where Aunt May dies. Where Green Goblin's like, how do you call it? Like his hoverboard thing. I think it was the yeah. I think it was a hover. I don't know how what the thing's called, but like yeah. So his hoverboard thing flies into Aunt May's back because of course those things have spikes. So apparently he jumps into it and he floats a grenade as like near Aunt May or even Tom's Spider-Man. I don't even know how, but and then he just runs off or flies away. I mean, but and then yeah, and then this is where the part where Aunt May says, "With great power comes great responsibility." So instead of Uncle Ben, but like we still don't know who Uncle Ben's in the MCU, but like I said, future self. And then so he gets upset, and then later we jump up to Ned's and MJ's thing about their being upset about Tom's Peter stuff, and then this is where everything goes to holy shit. So Ned is like saying that we need Parker right now, and like a portal like almost like magically gets in, and then he tries again, and then like Andrew fucking Garfield shows up, and like holy shit, like in this, like I said, he was like a fucking like he was good in this movie to be honest, like like MJ and they're confused, like you're saying you're not my Parker, and like he is Parker, but just not from his world. So like they tell him like, oh yeah, get in the fucking ceiling, wall crawl, do your spider sense thing and whatever, and then like they get confused, like okay, let's do it again, and then Tobey fucking Maguire shows up, and then basically did like not the same thing. They were just like, oh yeah, you're part of Parker, and it's like yeah, I'm Peter Parker, and then this is where you get like a fucking split second of Tobey and Andrew meeting each other, just almost about to have a shit storm, but they don't do it, but they were like, okay, yeah, exactly, I guess we're Peter Parkers, I guess. Well, not, they don't say it, but I'm just, and then they get confused, so like. So they try to find Peter Parker, what would Peter Parker go to when he's upset as fuck, and they both said somewhere else. I don't know what they said, but like, yeah. And then later you see him like in this fucking like college place. I don't even know what it is, but like, MJ and they're confident in him, and then that's where Tobey and Andrew says like they're upsetting feelings, like, oh yeah, like Toby's Spider-Man like says, oh I lost Uncle Ben, and shit, I tried killing the person that was responsible of it, and it didn't turn out well. And yeah, and then Andrew of course says Gwen Stacy's death, I couldn't save her, I tried losing guns and still like moved on with it and stuff, and my uncle still died as well. It's like, and then they said the responsibility things, like our uncle says it, and you need a purpose. So, and then you cut out to this like weird college place, and they're doing research stuff, like trying to make cures for them, and a bunch of stuff, like saying like Toby and Andrew were like talking about like their girlfriends, like Andrew still doesn't have one, and Chris's husband MJ and Toby's are still together. Well, they weren't together until three, but they worked it out. So I'm still looking forward to see actually in this film, which got cut out, but who knows? I'm not even trying to Kristen does, but like he was alright character for MJ. I still like MJ, but and then like and there's also a joke of the Toby webs where his he doesn't have web shooters, he has organic webs, but and they had a huge joke of it. It was funny, like. Tom's and Andrew's were just surprised that he doesn't actually use them. So and then there was a final battle where Dan try to cure them and stuff, and yeah, it was so fucking cool just to see those three just together. So like yeah, so they cured them. Sandman has some sort of like light being that turns him back to normal without the sand. Lizard gets cured about the if you ever saw the first Amazing Spider-Man where he just like makes him into a human by just blending some sort of spraying thing that just makes him cure. So I mean Tom does it instead of Andrew. So yeah, and then of course you already know how Dr. Octopus goes. So and then like. Electro was finding Andrew, of course, so he and then he sort of grabs Toby because he was gonna do it, but like they got both, and then you kind of realize, oh yeah, he's probably gonna save them because like he got the chip. So of course he's just pretending that he's still a villain, and then he grabs him and he takes away the Octoreactor because of I don't want to get into it since you kind of know, but he puts the thing that will probably make him stop using electric. So yeah, and then each of the two Spider-Mans get to talk to Electro and Otto. Like Andrew talks with Max and shit, and there's a Miles Morales reference there. So he says he wants a black Spider-Man, and that's Miles Morales. Let's hope he's in the next trilogy of Spider-Man. But yeah, and then there was Toby's conversation with Otto where Otto says like you're all grown up and shit because like of course Toby's like this is the same one from Sam Raimi's but like in the future where he's older. Like, he's surprised. So like yeah, they had a future thing in there, and then Doctor Strange shows up because Ned tries to portal something somewhere else, and like he shows up like he's still pissed at Tom's Peter, and he sees the other two and really didn't give care about, but like he was like, oh yeah, it's time to do this. So like they were about to do it, and then Goblin shows up and tries to fuck everything up. So he fucks a box up, which shows a bunch of different fucking Spider-Man villains, which was like Rhino, Kraven, and Scorpion, and other bullshit characters I've got. And then So he tries to fix this shit. It couldn't. So of course, Tom Spader is still pissed about Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. So he tries to kill him, but with his glider. Okay, that was what I was trying to think of. Not a hoverboard, which it could be, but a glider. Shit, I'm so fucking stupid. But yeah, but so he tries killing him with his glider. Toby's tries to stop him. I think he gives him a nudge saying this is not the way. So he doesn't say, but like of course you know how Tom. He says okay, I'll let my knife, and then he stabs him, which and many people were shocked. Gratefully he doesn't actually die. I was almost gonna have a heart attack, but yeah. So instead of just killing him, he puts the antidote on him, and that Green Goblin personality is gone, so he turns back to normal and stuff. So and then yeah, Toby's okay, and then he just puts his arm in his back and just like saying okay. And then after that, he goes to Strange saying that it can't be fake because we were going to send it there, and he was like getting the second idea, you know that whole spell thing, and that we did before, but I didn't do. What if we go back and just saying, oh yeah, everyone forgets who I'm truly am, which is Peter Parker, but nobody forgets who Spider-Man is, and he says like that would work, but like. But everyone's gonna forget you're Peter Parker, and nobody's gonna remember you as Spider-Man. So technically, everyone's gonna forget about you. And then he says like, okay, I'll do it. And then he says goodbyes to his friends, like for example, Toby and Andrew, or saying his goodbyes to them. And then he of course says goodbye to MJ since they're probably gonna forget him. And then Mary Jane was like, okay, well if I'm gonna forget you, just like make me remember you and stuff. And like it was like okay. And then Strange like puts the Toby and Andrew people and themselves and their villains back to their own world. So yeah, at least the villains get to be themselves, and Toby and Andrew went back to their universes. So yeah. And then after that day, he just runs off and the whole spell works and like yeah, and then he goes to this coffee shop. You know, they I think it was a coffee shop. I can't remember, but he goes to the coffee shop. You know, talks to MJ, which of course she doesn't know who he is, and like Ned shows up and like saying stuff like they actually got to MIT and stuff. So yeah, so Tom's trying to think if she should do it, if he should do it or not, and he was like, nah, let's just let her be, let's just let him be. So yeah, they don't. Yeah, he doesn't bother trying to convince them that he's Spider-Man because of course he doesn't want Ned or MJ to get in trouble. So of course he makes a final decision, and then he wants to at May's grave, and Happy's there, and he just forgets who he is, and then just reminds him like, oh yeah, my and I and stuff. So yeah, so and then he goes to an apartment where he's all by himself, you know, and then he grabs like a police dispatcher thing where it makes like where the criminals are, and then the last scene you just see a coffee, and then you see this suit that he made, which is like a classic comic book suit. Like it's kind of like Toby's and Andrew's suits, like combined. I guess that like he took it for them, but like who knows? And then he swings away, and then that's how it happens. And then the credit scene just shows Eddie Brock's I think his name was Tom Hardy. Hold on, Tom Hardy. Yeah, I think that's him. Where he shows his Venom. Like of course you don't see Venom, but like you just hear his like voice kind of. And then he gets teleported back to his universe, because of course Doctor Strange just you know what. And like he was talking about the Avengers by the way. And then like a piece of his goo lets off, so it was kind of surprising. So yeah. And the second one was the Doctor Strange trailer for the new one, but I guess it looks alright. And that's the whole movie. This movie is a 9 out of 10 for me. It was a good movie. I might give it a 10, but there's a lot of things. It has to be one of the best, not the best Spider-Man movie since I'm still confused about Spider-Man 2 and this one, but like, who knows? This might be the second, I guess. But definitely the best movie that's come out this year. Go definitely get a watch. And yeah, so take care and I see you soon.